Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 7 articles in this episode for you, and all these URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience in case you want to do some more research on them. And I'm checking the audio here to make sure that we've got everything working the way it's supposed to. It is. Okay, we'll jump right on in. The first one here is off of BizPac Review, and it says, Intelligence officials horrifying threats against Trump. He will die in jail. It's war between President Donald Trump and certain members of the intelligence community, and the stakes are higher than ever. Former National Security Agency employee John Schindler said he was informed by someone in the intelligence community that they are about to go nuclear against the 45th president and vowed that he will die in jail. A statement from agent and Democrat Brian Dean Wright called horrifying. The anger is based on the belief that the Trump campaign had contact with Russian operatives during the 2016 election. Tweets here from John Schindler. It says, now we go nuclear. I see war is this again. I see war going to new levels. Just got an EM senior IC friend. It began he will die in jail. U.S. intelligence is not the problem here. With Russian intelligence is many details, but the essence is simple. Video in this if you want to pull it up to see that. And it says, absolutely horrifying, Wright told Fox and Friends on Monday. I can't imagine any scenario in any country in this world where it is good for an unelected, unseen group of people to decide if the president can live or die. Wright called for those in the intelligence community behind the leaks and the threats to be taken out. The battle between President Trump and the intelligence agencies has reached a boiling point, with the president vowing to go after low-life leakers. Far from unbiased, or cursory peek at his Twitter page shows in a disdain for the president. And another tweet, migrant crime is a reality in the EU. Some people want to make it seem worse than it is. Number 1, Kremlin propagandist. Number 2, POTUS. Let's be clear, enemy of the people is pure Bolshevism, adding more Chekist slogans now. Another one, at Kremlin Gate promises to be much seedier and more troubling than anything President Nixon. At what point will Nazi frog realize the ethno-religious heritage of virtually all the seedy mafia business types surrounding Trump? It says Schindler is a conservative, seemingly supportive of the leaks against President Trump's administration, though the leaks are what allegedly made him all of his social media accounts, particularly a leak in this picture the married man allegedly sent to a female Twitter follower, a defunct Gawker. Next article is off of Liberty Writers, and it says, kill shot. Just said will put the final nail in John McCain's career. We can only hope. John McCain attacked Trump this morning and compared his actions to that of a dictator. It was disgusting, underhanded comment. The link here if you click on that. It says Rand Paul says that we are very lucky that Donald Trump is in charge, that we should be glad that McCain is not our president. Watch the amazing interview below, and there's a video that you can watch here of that interview. It says everything that he says about the president is colored by his own personal dispute he's got running with President Trump, and it should be taken with a grain of salt because John McCain's the guy who's advocated for war everywhere. Sees this week. So if you want to see that video, you pull that one up and take a look there. Next one is off Liberty Writers, and it says, it begins. First sanctuary city surrenders to President Trump, and it's a big one. Promised that during his presidency, he would completely exterminate sanctuary cities, and that is exactly what he's doing. On Friday, the first sanctuary city caved due to threats of withholding funds. Fox News says here, quote, Miami-Dade County Commissioners voted 9-3 Friday in favor of upholding Mayor Carlos Gimen's order to drop the county's status as a sanctuary city. Miami-Dade is the only U.S. more than half of the population is foreign-born. As one of his core campaign promises, President Donald Trump vowed to eliminate federal funding to these so-called sanctuary cities, unquote. Judge Alex Furr discussed the groundbreaking vote and explained that we are likely to see a pattern of this happening. Here's his quote. It's a harbinger of what's gonna happen across the country. Denied the money that they depend on for their budgets and special projects, said Furr, a former Miami-Dade County Circuit judge. He said Trump plays a direct role in this situation since he is one that started the change and is a change that was desperately needed. Besides the overwhelming amount of crime, sanctuary cities impose billions in costs to taxpayers that's been hidden from public view and shielded from potential accountability. That annual taxpayer burden amounts to over $14 billion nationally, over $1 billion in California and Texas, and over $100 million annually in over a dozen states. What President Trump is doing isn't cold-hearted, it's just the opposite. Our president is stopping wasteful spending, and more importantly, he's saving American lives. It is also off of Liberty Writers. It says, open season begins. Every single ICE agent is suiting up after what Trump just announced. Trump has declared that it's open season on illegal immigrants and officially declared that anyone in the U.S. illegally can be deported. ICE will now be targeting immigrants that have not been convicted of a crime. I repeat, ICE will now be targeting immigrants that have not been convicted of a crime. Immigrants are now under U.S. privacy laws, and border officers can now detain migrants until deportation is completed, based on Trump's executive orders, and are now being reviewed. And Trump promised a new immigration order. The only thing that still is that the DACA is here to stay. This means that children that were brought to the U.S. illegally are still in place. Donald Trump has essentially done what Obama and George W. Bush promised. The memos have been approved by the Secretary of Homeland Security, John Kelly, and just like that, open season has begun on illegal immigrants in this country. If you want to watch, you can watch a video here in this and it'll show you. It's crazy that it's now considered a revolutionary idea to enforce the laws of the land. The fake news media will not report this, though. The next article is also off of Liberty Writers, and it says Trump is pissed. Top security expert after he did something sick to Ivanka. Should never do to Donald Trump, and that's going after his kids. One of his senior security officials, Craig Deere, after he made gross comments about Ivanka Trump's good looks at the Wilson Center at Washington think tank. To go on the attack against Trump for his hard line policies on the Mexican government, leaked back to the president by others at the meeting. This is not the normal level of Trump being mad either. He was so upset with the classless comments that Trump had armed security guards escort Deere out of the executive office building. And there's some video on this if you want to pull it up and watch that. Deere supposedly said that members of Trump's inner circle, including chief strategist Steve Bannon and Trump's son-in-law and advisor Jared Kushner, have not consulted with the NSC directorates as the White House formulates policy. Can you really blame Trump for wanting to keep some loyalty and integrity in Washington? I mean, clearly, Craig Deere is just a bitter, washed-out pig of a man who thought it was acceptable to attack Trump while hitting on his daughter. Anyway, that's what we have in this article. So, Lord, I can't make this stuff up. Talk about suicide. BizPac review. This president flat out lied. Tucker joins the five and Bob Beckel goes off on him. See how this ends. Tucker Carlson said President Trump should be more careful with his words, but He's correct about Sweden's mass Muslim immigration problem. Carlson got into a heated exchange with the Five's co-host Bob Beckel, who said Trump lied when he spotlighted Sweden's exponential spike in rapes, arsons, riots, and assaults committed by migrant population from Middle East and North Africa. This president flat out lied, Beckel said, and there's some video here. That's his, see the video starting at 3 minutes and 18 seconds. He was referring to the following remark Trump made while discussing the need for extreme vetting on refugees and migrants from countries known to be hotbeds of Islamic terrorism. Our country safe. You look at what's happening in Germany, look at what's happening last night in Sweden. Media has since ridiculed Trump for suggesting there had been attacks in Sweden on February the 17th, while ignoring the fact that the country became the rape capital of the West shortly after they took in large numbers of refugees and migrants from Muslim-majority countries. The Swedish media has been actively covering up Muslim crimes for years because they fear being called racist, bigoted, or Islamophobic. A tweet says Swedish media admits to censoring stories for the last 5 years on migrant crime. Nothing happened in Sweden on February the 17th, but police and anecdotal reports show otherwise. Unfortunately, arsons and attacks on Swedish police in Muslim ghettos happen every day now. And there's a summary of arsons here in Sweden. Says 7 cars set on fire, 3 containers set on fire, piece of paper set on fire, gang and youths roaming around shooting fireworks at people, buildings, and cars. And that was 18th at 12 a.m. according to this. And it's in a tweet that Peter Sweden put out, and it says, here is a summary of arsons in Sweden on the night of the 17th to the morning of the 18th. Relatively quiet, actually. Continues and says, meanwhile, rioting broke out on February the 20th, proving Trump's right once again that Sweden has been destabilized by its mass migration population. Fox News puts out a tweet that says, riots in Sweden, cars ablaze, rocks thrown after arrests in migrant areas. And then Colonel Ben Bannister tweets back and says, liberals say no crime issue in Sweden. Criminals and victims tell a different story. Rioting breaks out in Sweden. That, and there's CNN. Well, this tweet says CNN fake is, my goodness, my tongue's twisted. CNN is fake news. Tweets out, fake news Schiller at CNN still has not covered the riot yesterday, and rioting breaks out in Sweden, and so it shows some pictures of it. Carlson conceded that President Trump needs to be more precise with his language, but said his broader point about the mass in Muslim crimes, rapes, and terrorist attacks in European countries that have taken in large numbers of refugees is undeniable. Tucker also pointed out that Trump said, look at last night. There had been a terrorist attack, but Bob Beckel claims otherwise. 4 years after Swedish parliament unanimously decided to change the formerly homogenous Sweden into a multicultural country, violent crime has increased by 300%, and rapes, or try this again, by 1,472%. Sweden is now number 2 on the list of rape countries, surpassed only by in southern Africa. Sweden, rape capital of the West, Gatestone Institute. It's 77% of rapes committed by 2% Muslim male population. Crime statistics. Trump explained on Twitter that he was referring to February 17th report that he'd seen on Tucker Carlson Tonight, where documentary film Amy Horowitz said the Swedish government is covering up violent crimes and rapes. And they have a video of that here in this article. Users, including many Swedes, back up President Trump's assertion that crimes have escalated in Sweden's Muslim ghettos. For my English readers, Donald Trump is correct. I live in an immigrant area in Sweden, and it's not working out well. Everyone says, oh, so you have insights on the state of affairs in Sweden. to claim it's fake news, please do tell, because I'm Swedish. And she's to someone named Roxanne Imbick. It says, you're ridiculous. Talk about fake news. The tweets in here if you want to pull them up and read those for yourself. And I'm just scrolling down through them. Yep, it's just more and more tweets proving that there's actually some problems over in Sweden. The article I have in this episode is off of BizPac Review, and it says, Trump's executive orders expected to dismantle Obama's climate action plan. Trump will order Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, to begin dismantling a regulation President Barack Obama's plan to fight global warming. Briefed on the matter, told the Washington Post one of the orders will instruct the Environmental Protection Agency to begin rewriting the 2015 regulation that limits greenhouse gas emissions from electric utilities, and order the Interior Department Bureau of Land Management, or the BLM, to lift a moratorium on federal coal leasing. A second order instructing the EPA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to rewrite the Waters of the U.S., or the WOTUS rule, that expanded federal control over rivers, streams, and wetlands, private property. Trump is expected to issue the orders in the next week. Dismantling EPA regulations could take months and is bound to draw legal challenges. Repealing the Department of Interior's coal moratorium, on the other hand, could take effect immediately. Previous media reports suggest Trump would issue executive orders dealing with Obama's climate action plan after the Senate confirmed Oklahoma Attorney General Scott Pruitt to head EPA. The Senate confirmed Pruitt on Friday. Obama's climate action plan aims to cut U.S. greenhouse gas emissions 26 to 28% by 2025, and mainly relies on EPA's Clean Power Plan regulation to get there. The CPP, that's what it's called, the CPP limits carbon dioxide emissions and is expected to force more coal plants to shut down. Trump's withdrawal of the CPP, along with lifting Obama moratorium on new federal coal leases, marks the next step in fulfilling his campaign promise to lift the regulatory burden off the coal industry. He signed legislation repealing the Obama administration's stream protection rule on coal mining. Congress voted to rescind the rule using the Congressional Review Act. We're bringing it back fast, Trump said before signing the CRA. Rewriting the WOTUS rule is popular among coal companies, but also farmers and rural landowners who oppose expanded federal control over their property, development, and some farming activities. Withdrawing the CPP could mean Pruitt will replace it with a rule, but the former Attorney General questioned whether or not the EPA even had the tools under the Clean Air Act to regulate CO2 in a recent Wall Street Journal interview. It's a fair question to ask if we do, or whether there in fact needs to be a congressional response to climate issue, Pruitt told WSJ's Kim Strassel. The CPP and WOTUS are being challenged in federal courts. The Supreme Court issued a stay against the CPP in February of 2016, and a federal appeals court put a hold on WOTUS later that year, suggesting both rules suffered legal deficiencies. Pruitt, whose nomination was hotly contested by Democrats and environmentalists, joined dozens of other state attorneys general in challenging the rules in court. WOTUS will effectively render those court cases moot. Trump may not stop with just 2 executive orders targeting the CPP, WOTUS, and the Interior Department's coal moratorium. Obama's climate action plan also consists of regulations to cut methane emissions from oil and natural gas operations and agriculture. Obama also used the Energy Department to put out energy efficiency standards for households and commercial appliances aimed at cutting emissions. Future Trump orders could focus on these. The president is also expected to issue executive actions on the social cost of carbon, or the SCC, estimate that the EPA and other agencies rely upon to craft global warming regulations. Critics say the SCC is an imprecise number that can be manipulated by politics. Trump could also take aim at the underlying reason for the Obama Climate Action Plan, the Paris Climate Agreement, meant to cut global greenhouse gas emissions went into effect in November of 2016. Obama joined the agreement last year but never sought approval from the Senate. Trump promised to pull out of the agreement on the campaign trail and eliminate all funding for UN climate programs. I have for you in this episode, but there will be more to follow. If you like what I'm doing here, share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news. And don't forget to subscribe, and that way you'll stay informed.